Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? My name is Rob Carmona, and thank you for tuning into episode 17 of Rob the Mic. So, it's kind of been a reoccurring theme that my podcast episodes come from my experiences from the previous week, and this week is going to be no different, but there's a reason for that. I've been trying to think of topics and trying to go through these motions to try and set things up like in advance. But what I'm running into is that if I come up with a topic and I want to talk about it at that time, it's something that I want to talk about at that time. And as the days pass, I'm like, I would love to talk about that, but then I really want to talk about this. So I'm starting to come into like a little bit of a conflict when it comes to things like that. So what I might start doing, not 100% sure yet, this isn't set in stone, but what I might start doing is recording certain episodes on certain days if I feel like that, and then putting them out. So who knows? I might be doing multiple episodes a week. Not at that point yet, but I am realizing that as I'm coming to try and organize things a little bit better, it might be something that I have to do. Because of course, it's like with most of us, right? Like if you're hungry and you want something to eat on that day, I know this is a weird comparison, but hear me out. But like, let's say you're craving pizza on a certain day, right? It's very rare that you can wait a couple days. Like, let's say you're going to wait until Friday to get it type of thing, because then it's not going to be the same because you didn't really want it, but you were kind of planning on it. But now that Friday's here, maybe you kind of want a burger. You know what I'm saying? So this is kind of how the podcast is starting to feel, that I have these moments that I really want to cover a topic and I'm waiting for it. And I'm like, oh, I'll record it next week on my day. But my issue is, again, that when I'm getting closer to that day or I hit that day, I'm like, you know what? I really don't want to talk about that today. I want to talk about this. So I might start doing that. Not 100% sure, but we'll see what happens. All I know is that today's episode, I'm going to be bouncing around a little bit, covering a few different things that have happened, and I guess kind of talking about the overall topics of those things and like how they've affected me. So one of the things from my last week was pretty hectic overall. I had quite a few things going on family wise, and it was really tough to kind of juggle it and stay afloat. Thankfully, I was able to get my balance because of the weekend. I had a nice little reset. I was able to kick it with my buddy Albert, which I've talked about multiple times on the show. And I'm pretty sure you guys know who he is now. But for those of you guys who are just tuning in, this is your first episode. One, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And two, Albert's a very, very close friend of mine. He is like a brother to me. So him and his girlfriend, Yessie, which is like my sister, we try and spend as much time together as possible. And especially in the recent times, we've been spending a lot more time together, which is really great. But they were a big help in helping me get through all the trials and tribulations of last week. And I guess the main theme of this first part of the podcast is just kind of trying to think of how to word it. But I guess it's more so of me being like humbled by life and its fragility. And the reason why I say that is because I spent a lot of time with my uncle. And the uncle that I'm talking about is the one that has cancer. So I've been trying to help him as much as possible with pretty much anything that I can help with in his life, whether it's like his business or if he needs to run errands or anything like that. I've been a part of his life like very, very heavily as of late. So the one thing that I'm really coming to realize, not that I didn't take my life for granted, but I took a lot of simple things for granted. And I think a lot of us do, because we don't necessarily think about the things, for example, that he's thinking about. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's not something that we're used to. It's not something we come across. And if you've dealt with cancer in your family or in your life at some point, you probably have somewhat of an understanding of what I'm talking about even before I'm jumping into this. But it's the simplest things that take him out. So whether it's like running from A to B, just running around town, doing little things here and there, it wears him down so quick. And last week he was getting ready. And again, for those of you who this is your first episode, I'll brush up a little bit on what's going on. But he has a Michelada company. And I've been trying to help him, again, with anything that I can, whether it's bottling, boxing up products, shipping out stuff, whatever. And last week he was preparing a bunch of his product because he had a really big show that was going down in Vegas. I don't know exactly what the show was, but it was like some sort of beer festival, if not mistaken. And he was going to take out like a full pallet of product, and we had to get everything ready, and it was super difficult because as I was there with him, and this is what I'm saying, like it was super difficult for multiple reasons, because one, the work is very labor intensive, is very, very labor intensive. Like I honestly didn't think it was like that bad. And then when we're there, I'm like, oh shit. And it's not that it's like really hard. It's not like you're, for example, for the car people out there, it's not like putting on coilovers type of thing or installing some sort of suspension arms or like doing things like that. But it's just the fact that you're having to do multiple things at the same time. So it requires a lot of it, like your attention span in different places. So it stretches you out really thin. And for myself, I noticed that it was taking me out. And I know he does a lot of this on his own because he doesn't want to put the burden on people. He doesn't want to bother people. And I understand that and I respect that. But there comes a certain point in your life that you need to ask for help. And this was one of those moments as I was like watching him go through these things and I was helping him with this process. I was like, damn, dude, there's so many times in my life personally that I've needed the help. And whether it's a pride thing or I just wanted to do it myself, like that was really stupid of me. Like I should have simply asked for help because it would have been a lot easier on anything that I was doing at the time. And this was one of those moments, right, where I had to, and he also didn't ask me for help. I had to not just offer myself because I've offered a million times, but I had to put my foot down and say, hey, you're going to be here at this time, right? He's like, yes. I was like, okay, I will meet you there. And then it came into the whole thing where like, nah, it's cool, dude. It's cool. I got it. And it's like, no, you don't got it. You don't got it. It's something completely fucking different now. We're talking about a completely different beast because as the time has progressed, he's undergone 3 sessions of chemo. And because it's so intense, because of the stage of cancer that he has, it's fucked him up super bad. Like super fucking bad. And again, doing simple tasks and just kind of running around town really takes him out. Between all the medication that he's taking and just all the stresses that he's dealing with in general, I think like between the emotional and physical toll, it's taking him out. But this whole experience has really humbled me. And it's, again, taught me how fragile life really is because I watch him and he used to be this person that could like do anything, go anywhere. It's almost like the typical story that you hear, right? They're the strongest person that I know. And then they turn into this really fragile thing that can barely handle like the simplest of tasks. And it's really hard when you're watching somebody that you love and that you care for, I guess, for lack of better words, like start to fall apart. And I know it sounds really fucked up to say, but it's the truth because that's what I'm seeing. It's what I'm witnessing. I've been watching him slowly break down. And he has moments where he does really well, which is awesome to see because it's like he's very cloudy. And then he has these moments where like the sun will break through and you can see it. You can see his old self, his old energy and everything come back. But then it gets clouded up really, really quick. And I hate that shit. I fucking hate it. It's the worst thing to witness. And if any of you have witnessed it, you understand what I'm talking about. If you haven't witnessed it, if you haven't had cancer in your life at any point, I hope that you never do. This is something, you guys, that I hope you never experience. If you have not experienced it, I hope you never do. Because it's a really ugly thing. And in my opinion, I've dealt with it before, but in my opinion, this is the ugliest thing that you can witness. And for myself personally, this is the first time I've had to deal with this sort of situation in my immediate family. We've had it in extended family. I've dealt with it with friends before. And I mean, even here on the show, we've talked about it, you know, especially with, for example, Izzy with his mom last year and also with his grandma in the last year. Like that was a really difficult thing to watch him go through and to try and bring him some sort of peace and like just be there as a friend, as family. But now that I'm in his shoes, it's not that I didn't understand then, but I also didn't fully understand. And I still don't fully understand because his situations are very, very different. Because one, it was his mom. I'm not saying that this isn't the same weight, because it still is difficult. But I think when it's with your mom or your dad, it's a very different situation. So he had his mom, right? And then also his grandma, which is another one, because I feel like that's, depending on how you're raised and what's going on, your grandparents could be very involved in your life. Him dealing with those things, I'm getting a glimpse of what he was having to process, what he was having to go through. Myself, my mom, we're doing our best to keep our heads up, to stay above water, and to keep it moving as best as we can. But it's moments like last week, or yeah, I guess I would still stick with that. It's moments that in last week that both reminded me and just humbled me, like how fragile everything really is. Because he went from one moment being fine and thinking everything was good, and then feeling a pain, which is really scary. And I'm not trying to freak you guys out, but to like feeling a certain sort of pain, and then he's here all of a sudden, like a few months later. This is where we're at. And we're trying to fight this thing that, in my opinion, is the scariest thing in the world. It's hard to explain. Like, you can't compare cancer to anything, in my opinion. I don't think anything is scarier than this. I feel like any physical activity that you could try and line up, that you can try and do, it's still not that fucking scary. Because this is the type of thing that you don't know what's going to happen. It could be fine. You could be not fine. Like, you don't fucking know. So it's, again, trying to compare it to other shit. Like, it's not possible to me, this is the scariest thing you can deal with. But seeing him through this process and trying to push and trying to work and trying to do stuff, it's hard watching someone that you know, like, drive themselves into the ground. And I know I have a lot of pauses in this one, and it's hard because I'm trying to gather my thoughts as I'm like talking about it with you guys. So bear with me if there's a lot of pauses in this episode, or at least in this part. But I'm watching him do his best, but even his best isn't enough, because his best is like a normal person's bare minimum. So again, having to step up and be there and do these things, and also put a bunch of bullshit aside, which is really tough, because even for myself, and I've talked about it here on the podcast, like this uncle and myself, we've definitely had our differences, but now we're in a situation where it's like, none of that stuff matters, dude. Like, none of it matters. It's all bullshit. So here we are. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to move forward. And I'm very thankful to have this time with him. I really am. And like, I don't know, I wouldn't want it any other way right now. So even I got some news this morning. Like, he came back from his trip yesterday, and then he had to go to the ER this morning. I'm still waiting on a message back. I usually, when I have my phone, when I'm recording the podcast, I either put my phone like far away from me or like down here in the corner. I have it right here on my desk. So if I look over and I hear like a little buzz, that's why, because I'm waiting to see if there's some sort of message or something going on with him, because I don't know. But going back to last week, getting to work with him and try to calm him down and try and like just be the strength that he needs definitely humbled me, for sure. And it taught me a lot. And I think, especially with what I've been going through lately, everything that I've been trying to process and trying to deal with, right? And I know I've been talking to you guys about a bunch of different concepts, whether it's like to go with the flow and like to be happy and do things like that. Like, moments with him last week reinforced all of that shit. And the funny thing is we were even, as we were in really stressful situations, whether it was with the business or personal or anything like that, I had to bring in those concepts, and I was like talking to him about them. And usually he's like really reluctant to listen to what I have to say when it comes to shit like that, or anything. I'm not going to say existential, but when it seems like really far out, like these really weird concepts, he doesn't really listen to it, because there's nothing concrete about it. There's nothing real about it. So to him, it's kind of like like goes over his head. But he started to listen to the shit I had to say, because we had a situation, for example, with his truck. His truck had taken a shit on him, and he was getting ready to go to Vegas. So we were able to straighten everything out. But when we were in the moment and we're like trying to find a truck rental and trying to do all these things on the day before Labor Day weekend, which is almost impossible. Those of you who like are trying to like, let's say you're in that situation, right? Labor Day weekend, trying to rent a car to leave, go somewhere. You already know rental places are out of literally everything. It's almost impossible. And as we were hitting the thick of it, he was losing his shit. And I saw that it was really taking him out. Like I saw him, he was on a high and then just fucking shot straight down. Not even like a gradual drop. It just like shot straight down. It like took him out. But we had this moment when we were sitting in this car and I'm like, dude, we got to just stop. Because I was chilling. I was just like watching him trying to calm down. But I was like, you got to stop fighting the current. That's a lot of what this is. This whole day. And that whole day we were having a lot of difficulties. And I'm like, you've been fighting the current all fucking day. And for those of you guys who don't know what I'm talking about, it goes back to the whole going with the flow concept, which is you got to just move and let the water take you wherever it's going to take you. And I know, again, even to some of you, that's probably like, oh, well, what the fuck? Easier said than done. And it is easier said than done. But you also have to realize, like, when shit's going down or it's not that great, you just got to like flow with it. Because when you fight it, it makes it so much harder. So much fucking harder. And that's what he was doing. And then finally, I kid you not, finally, when he just sort of gave in and we started just going with the flow of shit, everything, I don't even know how, dude. It was like a domino effect. Everything just fell into place. I can't explain that shit. Like I couldn't make this up if I tried. So a lot of the issues was we were having issues with his trans slipping. Turns out his trans fluid was low. So we were like, okay, well, let's roll and see what's up. Roll over to Nissan. Of course, they had the ATF that he needed. Threw in some ATF. Ran through the gears. It was fine. No slippage. And we were just like, okay, cool. Checked all the fluids. Everything was cool. And we're like, look, granted, the truck still had some issues, but overall, it was going to make it. So when he kind of realized that, once we got back to the place where he does all his packaging and all that, I just like stopped him for a second and I was like, yo, like, do you get what I was talking about now? And he just kind of sat there for a second and was like, yeah, I get it. I get it. And that, again, having those moments like that with him are a trip, because I never thought that I would have moments like that with him, of even just like remote clarity, or like getting to not be deep with him, because we've had a lot of conversations in the past, of course, and some things a lot like very sensitive, but we never really got past a certain point. Everything was still kind of surface level for that matter. But now it's sad that it's taken this situation to get us to this point, but I'm also very thankful that we've gotten to this point, because we can have these conversations that are very real, very candid, very raw. And it's moments like that, when I pull out things like that, that he's like, okay, I get it now. And it's still hard to get him to understand. And I know it's going to take some time to get him to adopt that concept, even just the whole going with the flow thing. But hopefully over time, shit gets better. And again, it last week was very, very humbling. As if I already knew how fragile life was, and I already understood a lot of those things. But I think it's just a constant need of perspective that, like, we as humans, we need it. And I was actually talking about that with my cousin, my youngest cousin, which is my uncle's daughter. And she's honestly not that. I mean, she is very young. She's 22. But I always say like my little cousin, because to me, she's my little cousin. But anyways, that was something we talked about, was just the idea of constant perspective throughout life. Because no matter what you're doing, and this isn't to belittle your problems or to do anything, but no matter what you're going through or no matter what's going on, there's always a different perspective to kind of shift how you're processing whatever situation you're in. And it's not that to say somebody else has it worse. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is, for example, if you're looking at something from a fully negative point of view, shift it. Talk to somebody else about it. Whether it's a friend, family member, a fucking stranger in line at the store. Bet that they're going to have something different to tell you. Or at least get you to see, maybe not necessarily like a positive, but like a, hey, what about this? Because it also could be like this. And it kind of makes you sit there and think like, oh, fuck, you know what? You're right. You're right. And it was that kind of moment that I had with my uncle like last week. And we had a few different things where I had to like shift up the perspective and get him to kind of think about it differently. But it's those moments that we need. Those are the moments, in my opinion, that we live for, because we constantly need different perspective, because that's where we learn. Our minds and the way that we see shit is so like blindfolded. Like we sit there, we're like racehorses in a sense. We have these like blinds that don't let us see anything else, to the left, to the right, anything. It's just go forward. But in reality, the answer is just on the other side of the blind. And all you never really think to remove the blind. You're just, because this is where you're at. You're focused on going forward. But the moment you kind of push the blind back a little bit, your answer is right there. And that's what this is, just the constant perspective and needing to receive that. So if you're going through it, if something's going on in your life, you guys, look for it. Seek the perspective, talk to people, see what's going on, because you might hear something that you didn't, even if you thought about it, it's different when you hear it from somebody else. And the fact that somebody's telling you, it makes it that much more real, right? So, hey, what about this? Look at it like this. Or, hey, check it out from this way. What about like this? Like, oh shit, you know what? I didn't think about that. Or maybe I did think about it, but hearing you say it makes it so much more different. And with all of that, that's why it was really tough going into the weekend. And I didn't like shut down about it, but I was definitely on a more of a downward than I was like heading upward. Just emotionally, physically, I wasn't feeling it. It was tough. And then on top of that, Friday I had like an insane family situation at home that just, it went off out of nowhere. Some family drama. And so I'm telling you, going into the weekend, I was like, oof, this ain't it. This ain't it. Not that I couldn't take it, but I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? I needed to shut down for a second. But I also realized that I couldn't, because shutting down for those types of things is like surrendering to everything that's bad. And I couldn't surrender that easy. So I had spoken to my buddy Albert that night on Friday after the incident all went down, and talking about some stuff. And he's like, hey, you know what? Tomorrow, like, what do you have going on tomorrow? And I was like, dude, I think I want to say I did have some plans, but I couldn't think of what it was. And I was like, fuck it. I don't have anything. Not that I can think of right now. He's like, let's kick it. I'm going to work on the truck and I want your help with a few things. So I was like, okay, let me hit you up in a little bit. Go through it. I called him up later that night and I'm like, okay, so let's talk some details. What's up? So he goes, check it out. The truck is getting ready for its swap, which you know already. I was like, yeah. He goes, so look, the bay's really disgusting, like his engine bay. He's like, can you help me paint it? And I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, I'm down. And the thing is, like, I needed something creative. I had to do some sort of release in some sort of creative form. I needed it. I knew that I needed it. And that was my window. That was my window, right? Someone said, hey, can you paint this? I said, yeah, I can paint that. So I hit him up Saturday morning. I'm like, hey, what's up? We're still good for today? He's like, yeah, we're still good. So I asked him, I said, hey, regarding this paint situation, I know the base is going to be this, and you were just thinking about just to paint it like this, but like, what about adding a bunch of flake to it? And he's like, oh, bro, you know what? He's like, I'm down. So I asked him, I said, what color flake do you want? And he's like, I'm thinking blue. And I was like, okay, cool. Right then and there. And then I asked him, I was like, do you mind if I fuck around a little bit? And he's like, yeah, for sure. He's like, whatever, have fun with it. So I ended up buying 3 different kinds of flake. Technically, one of the flake was like a multi, so it had a bunch of different colors in it. But I grabbed like a darker blue, a teal, and then I have like this multi. So we go through the process. It takes us hours to do this with prep and making sure everything was good. It's honestly the best engine bay I've ever painted. Ever. Hands down. Everything was so ideal. Everything just worked out. It clicked. And I needed something like this so fucking bad to just work. And again, the fact that it was something creative and I was able to express myself and enjoy the entire process and the entire fucking day. Even when we were cleaning and pressure washing and I'm like fucking spraying down the bay and getting all blasted with a bunch of water, just enjoying it, having a blast, dude. It was fun. It just felt like being a kid again. Like you and your homie are trying to do some wild shit and you're like, I hope this turns out sick. And then there we are in the fucking dark. I'm laying flake, laying clear coat. And I'm like, dude, this is phenomenal. And I will insert a clip. I know I talked to you guys about certain things and certain projects and I'm going to post them and do this and I don't. And that's my fucking bad. So you guys can yell at me all you want. But I will be inserting a clip. And actually, I'll insert the clip right here. So that's literally what I was working on Saturday, and getting to, again, go into this space and be creative and just kind of have fun with it and create this like layers of dimension with flake and really just get down and have fun. It made that day so beautiful. Like it made Saturday so fucking great. And from the moment I got there, it was great because like we had really good food, great conversation, and it's always like that. And it's the constant thing that I talk to you guys about. It's creating memories that you're never going to forget with the people that you love, the people that you care for. Because at the end of the day, that's all we have is our stories. Yeah, we have pictures and we have videos, which is awesome too. For those of you guys who don't take pictures and videos of your shit, start doing it. It's never too late. Even if it's clips on your Snapchat and just save them in your memories. Like I used to do that so much and then I stopped. And I realized how much I need to do it again. And it's even like moments like Saturday, we were recording some stuff, taking some pictures and things like that. But I always forget to kind of do it throughout the day. And just, you know, moments where we're like mixing drinks or where we're just laughing and talking and just bullshitting. Because again, that's the stuff that we need to remember. And when things get really, really dark and shit hits like rock bottom and you feel like it's just nothing's working out, you can always go back and reflect on that stuff, right? That's why we have it. We take all these pictures and do all these things. And sometimes I do that. When I get really down, I go through my photo album and I sit there and I just scroll. And I'll find certain days where I have pictures with friends or just shit with cars. And I kind of go through it. And it just makes me feel different. Because I'm like, I felt so good this day. Why can't I feel like that right now? So it kind of helps me to get out of certain funks that I get into. But Saturday was really fucking great. Really fucking great. And I hope, and it's not even that I hope, but I know I'm going to have more days like that in the future, especially in the near future, because there's definitely a lot of like automotive events that are going to be going on. And like between working on my cars, like my buddy's cars, like I know there's a lot going on and I'm excited for that because it's time. It really is time. It's time to tune. It's time to have a good time. It's fucking summertime, granted. And right now in SoCal, it's super gloomy. So it's not very summertime, but we're definitely coming into the June gloom. And I'm still preparing for all that. And I'm definitely looking forward to working on Albert's truck more, getting things dialed in, getting it set up. We're trying, it's not 100% positive, but we're trying to get the truck ready by Yoda nights. So I will give you guys some updates, some progress next week. So we'll see how this week turns out and then also moving into next week. But hopefully I can give you guys a little bit more of an update with that truck. But when you guys see the engine bay clip, you'll understand. And I mean, at this point, you've already seen it. So for those of you who are on YouTube and watching this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who are listening, I would definitely recommend going over to the YouTube video, Even if it's just to check this section out so you can see the video. But man, that engine bay is fucking gorgeous. And honestly, the video doesn't do it justice at all. Zero, nothing. It's just a slight glimpse of what's going on. Because even when Albert showed me during the day, he sent me a video, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever the fuck it was. And during the day, it looked completely different in an amazing way. Not that it looked worse at night or whatever when I shot the video that I'm going to show you guys, but during the day, it looks incredible. When that sun hits it and the whole bay just dances. It's like somebody took a disco ball and just like threw it in there, and it's incredible. It's incredible. I fucking love it. So hopefully, if it's ready by Yoda Nights, those of you who are interested in that kind of event with trucks and stuff like that, please come through. It's an event that a friend of mine, Angel, hosts. Absolutely incredible event. Absolutely incredible. To me, I think it's the best truck event I've ever been to in my life. That's why I continue to go to it. That's why I continue to support it. And I support him, everything that he pushes forward. He's really done an amazing job in creating a community and this sense of camaraderie that's really hard to create now, because it's like I've talked about in the past couple weeks, right? With like different car episodes, it's so difficult to create this sense of community. And what he's done now is made something like that. He's created a home. He's created a place. And hopefully we can debut the truck there. So I will keep you guys updated and hopefully that all that shit works out. But another cool thing that went down on Saturday was I actually saw the movie Air with Albert and Yessie. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that movie, it's essentially the movie of the AJ1. So like the Air Jordan 1, and just the story of how the shoe was created, how Nike got Michael to sign and how they created the shoe for him, the process of creating the shoe. And it's a really inspirational movie on so many different levels. And for a lot of people, you would probably think, oh yeah, I get it. It's an inspo film, but it's not just a regular inspo film. It's not. It's really insane. I think the casting is incredible. And like I haven't seen a movie like that in a very, very long time. So if you have the time to watch it, definitely check it out, whether you're into shoes or not, because the way that the story's portrayed, I don't know. It gives you something. It drives you. And it's not like a never give up type of situation, because I don't think it's necessarily about not giving up. I think it's just the tenacity and just the push. That's what this whole thing is about. The fact that from start to finish, Matt Damon's character, which is one of the lead characters, is just pushing. It's not that he's not giving up. It's not nothing. It's just he's just pushing. He has a very clear vision for what he wants, and he runs for it at 100 miles an hour, and he's not stopping. And he also realizes he's picking up these people on the way who fuck with his vision, and they're like, this is fucking crazy, but we're down. And as I'm watching this movie, again, like I know I've talked to you guys about before, I tend to kind of take everything to like a personal level, but it's also because of my love of film. So I process it on a very, very personal level. And this movie kind of showed me that, of like a lot of what I'm dealing with right now. And that I'm trying to gain I'm trying to like fix up my team, right? I'm trying to get the right people that can help me continue pushing at 100 miles an hour, because I don't know exactly what I'm working for right now. I'm trying to do so many things and trying to juggle between like family, personal, all this bullshit. And I don't know exactly where I'm running. I just know that I'm running somewhere, and I'm running there fast. And I can't even give an answer, but I just need the people that are around me to say, wherever the fuck you're going, we're here to also run with you and to push you. If you start to slow down, whatever, like it's just push. We don't have to know where you're going. Just fucking go. And it kind of reminds me also of, like, I was watching a little bit of Forrest Gump this weekend, or on Monday. And it just reminded me of when this fool's like running. And he doesn't have a destination, but he's running by himself forever. And then eventually people start to notice and fuck with it, and they start running with him. They don't know where he's running, but they're behind him the entire time. They don't care how long, they don't care where, they don't care the conditions, but those people are there to support him until he's done, until he reached where exactly he needed to be. That's where they ran with him up until that point, because he said, cool, like I'm done. And that's kind of how I feel, is I'm trying to set up, and I've been running by myself for so long, but I can't do it alone. And I'm trying to be open to that. And again, this goes back to like what I was talking about in the beginning of this episode, right? Where like being humbled and understanding life's fragility and just kind of asking for help and needing help. And that it's okay to reach out to the people that you love and that you care for, because that's what they want to do. They want to help you. The people who really fuck with you actually want to help you. And if they don't, if you receive any sort of pushback or any sort of bullshit or this fucking half-stepping ass feeling that you get from people, cut that shit. Cut it. Don't even fucking deal with it. Throw that shit out the window. Because honestly, one thing that's really helped me out over the last couple months is to realize like half-steppers ain't shit. Literally half-steppers ain't shit. And for those of you guys who don't know what a half-stepper is, it's like people who just can't meet you all the way. When you need help, it's like, let's say you ask them for help. Hey, I need help on Friday. Can you help me? I'll see what's up. Versus the other person, let's say another team member that you got. And I say team member, this could be family, anybody, friends, somebody. Everybody, we have our own teams, right? There could be somebody else on your team that you have on the bench that'll 100% not give you any flack and be like, yo, I'm there. You want me there at 10? I'm going to be there at fucking 9:45. I'm ready. Let's run it. Let's make this shit happen. I'm trying to support you. I'm trying to help you. Whatever. Cool. I'm there. That's the type of shit I'm talking about. Keep the hundreds, drop the 50s. It's real fucking simple, you guys. Get rid of that half-stepping ass bullshit. And also, be real with yourself too. If you're a half-stepper, cut that shit out. Cut that fucking shit out, dude, because nobody has time for that. Be 100 for everybody that you fuck with. Come 110% to every fucking thing that you do, every person that you come to help, to be in their life, because all of that, in my opinion, all of that shit will come back in some way, shape, or form. You give all this positivity, you give all this love, you give everything that you have, people are also going to give you the same thing. And it's going to be at the times that you need it most. And maybe when you least expect it, maybe not. But when you ask for it, it's going to be there. So always do that shit. Put yourself into everything. Everything. Keep that shit 100,000%. And again, going back to this movie, seeing the process, man, it was so badass. And for myself, especially being a shoehead, I think it meant so much more. And just seeing like the little Easter eggs throughout the movie of like certain shoes, certain things, situations, you're like, fuck, man, this is it. And also, not to mention, I'm not going to say it's the best. I would say it's definitely one of the best in my opinion. For me, the ones are it. Like it is. Like that silhouette, that first fucking shoe is the shoe. And for myself, I'm not the biggest Jordan collector. Like I don't have a lot of Jordans. I actually don't. As of right now, I don't have any Jordans in my collection. But the ones that I love the most, the ones and the threes for sure. Yeah, I would say ones and threes. Three specific, I would say the Black Cats. That's why. I can't say all the threes, but definitely have those. I also fuck with the fours too. But anyways, we'll leave that for a whole other episode because I can super get down on shoes. And also, for those of you guys who are out there, guys and girls, for the shoe heads in general, if y'all want me to do an episode on shoes, let me know. Comment below, either here on YouTube or on Instagram. Shoot me a message, something. Because I have been wanting to do a shoe episode for a long time. I just don't know how many people actually fuck with shoes or who would be interested in hearing about that culture. I know I've talked about it before, especially with like Zoe and even just myself. Like I know I've discussed shoes before. But if it's something you guys are curious about, let me know. Let me know, because I fucking love shoes. And anytime I can talk about them or like bring back some memories of the culture, I'll fucking do it. Because that's also changed quite a bit too. As much as I talk about car culture and the shift in that, there was also a major shift in shoe culture. So that would be really interesting. But again, I don't want to talk about it and get all into it, and then you guys don't fuck with it. So let me know what's up. If you want a shoe episode, drop a comment below, either on here, on YouTube, on Instagram, shoot me a DM, anything. Let me know. But that was the gist of my weekend, because being inspired, getting to express myself, getting to feed this creative, positive love into myself, into my soul, into my body, into my everything, it gave me everything I needed. And it's like I've talked about before, putting your happiness first, putting yourself first, your needs. And granted, Saturday wasn't about me. It was about helping my boy do his thing on his truck. But what he didn't know is it was going to give me everything I needed. So I didn't care what I had to do. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but I didn't care. Because I knew at the end of it, I was going to drive home feeling so fulfilled. And then I was going to wake up on Sunday feeling like $1 million. And I did. I woke up so good. I mean, granted, I was tired as fuck, y'all, because I got home late as shit. By the time I was in bed, it was probably like 3:30, because I left really late too, and that was my bad. But I still felt so great. And the first fucking thing I did when I woke up is I watched this video, the one that I put here into this video. And I'm just watching the flake move, and I'm like, damn, dude, this is it. And then what did it do? Fucking gassed me up for the day. Got up, showered, got ready, did some shit, and I was like, cool, we good. Keep it moving. So I had to keep running it like that. So going with life's fragility and being humbled and all these things, and it reminds me that as much as I talk about it on here, because I know I will continue to talk about it because it's super fucking important, but feed yourself, feed your input the positive into your life, because there's no time for anything else. And when you start to see situations like, for example, what I'm dealing with my uncle, I realize how much bullshit, negativity, anything like that, any sort of like falsehood, half-steppers, anything like that, it's fucking trash. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. I don't want to deal with it. Get it the fuck out of my vision. Like, get out. Fuck the fuck off. You know? And that was a part of like Friday for me with the family issues that were going down. A part of what had happened, it was a really negative thing, but in my eyes, it was also a positive thing, because I was able to cut out a really negative person who constantly brings issues, constantly brings problems. I don't need that. My family doesn't need that. So get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Don't come around here with that bullshit ever again. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. You don't benefit anybody. Bye. See you later. Because in my opinion also, and I know I keep saying in my opinion, but it's important that I say that, because I'm not trying to force what I think or how I feel onto you guys. That's not what I want. I don't want you guys to ever feel that. But just because somebody is family doesn't mean shit. I don't mean shit. It don't give you a right to be a fucking piece of shit. It don't give you a right to be an asshole. It don't give you a right to just fucking run around and raise hell. It doesn't. Because what? People out here doing bad shit. Oh, at the end of the day, oh, but it's your family. You got to care for them. I don't have to fucking care for nobody. Because if I was a random motherfucker on the street, I would have been gone. I would have been cut that shit off. If it was somebody, a friend of mine that was doing some shit like that, I would have been cut that relationship off. So you're telling me because, oh, this person's your family, you got to keep them in your life? Get the fuck out of here. Family ain't shit. Family's a fucking word. And I'll tell you right now, to be honest with all y'all, some of the most dirty shit in my life, how I like the things I've experienced, the dirtiest shit, some of it, not all of it, some of it. Yeah, that's some, a part of me wants to say most of it, but some of it. It's been family to do me like that. Supposedly, my own fucking blood is out here doing me the most foul that anybody's ever done. Excuse me. They've done me the most foul more than anyone else in my fucking life. So what's that supposed to mean? How the fuck am I supposed to deal with that shit? You're going to tell me again, because they family, I got to fucking deal with it? No, dick. Bye. Get the fuck out of here. You're a piece of shit. Get the fuck out of my life. Get the fuck out of mine and everybody who fucks with me's lives. You don't need to be here, dog. My mom doesn't need that shit, because just like I talked to you guys about, my mom had a stroke in December. Still dealing with the recovery process. She's doing much better now, but still, we're still having to control and deal with certain things. And stress is a major player in that. So I got to make sure she's good. And if I can control any outer forces from coming over here, especially into my home with some negative ass bullshit, you get the fuck out. Same thing with my grandma, same way. She's had multiple heart issues. She's had all kinds of fucking problems. Blood pressure, crazy. You know, and I know a lot of y'all who have grandparents like that or elderly parents. You understand what I'm talking about. Or even yourselves, if you deal with like hypertension and having to like high blood pressure and all that, you know what's up. So I got to protect her too. I got to protect the people that I fuck with. That's in my circle, in my shit. And again, you don't have anything good to bring, then get the fuck out of here. I don't have time for that shit. Get the fuck out. Bye. See you never, homie. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. You know, I don't fuck with that. So you got to let that shit roll. And so coming into yesterday, I would say yesterday, because I was catching up with my buddy Jay, which I also know, another name very familiar on the show, which you guys have heard before. I was talking to him. We're catching up because we haven't had a chance to kick it. It's been a couple weeks since we've had dinners, we've had lunch, anything. So we got to catch up a little bit. And I'll probably call him today too after this podcast and catch up some more. But we were talking about what's been going on. And he's like, damn, dude, this is fucking wild. This is super fucking wild. And how we're both, he's dealing with a lot of shit too, especially like with work. He got his route changed up at his job and he's trying to balance everything, make sure everything's good. And he's got his family shit going on, stuff with like his relationship. He's trying to balance and keep everything together in his life. And that's a lot. And I know as I'm talking about that, a lot of you guys are probably shaking your head like, yo, fucking same. Because it's the truth. At the end of the day, we all got shit going on, right? We all got shit that we're dealing with. Everybody has it a different way. It's not that one person's is worse or whatever, because each of us deal with it differently. So as we're catching up and he's listening to this and he knows very much what's going on in my life, like about my family, what the situations are, how things are with everything. So as we're catching up and as we're talking, we start talking about like the positive in a sense, like, okay, well, you know what? All this shit's going on, but hey, at least we're here. At least this is where we at. This is what we talking about. And at least we're talking about it and not sitting there, harboring these feelings, harboring these emotions. Because all that shit, that's what eats at you. That's what make you start to get bitter. That's what make you start to feel a certain way. You feel tired. You feel like anxious because everything's building up. And for either of us, that's not what we want. It's because I see him as a brother. So it's like for me, shit gets too much. And what was wild is he hit me up out of nowhere. Like we have been sporadically, talking, but yesterday when he hit me up, I was like, yo, this was the perfect time. I don't know how the fuck this happened. The universe said, yo, drop Jay into my life for the day and said, cool, you're going to let this shit out. You're going to talk about it. We ended up talking about all kinds of shit. So it was great. It was great. I got to talk about things. He got to talk about things. We got to kind of run through certain situations and go about it the way that we needed to. But it gave us both a sense of peace. Because I remember after I got off the phone with him, I was like, yeah, like we're cool. Now I just got to go about my day, keep doing my thing. And that's it. That's it. Everything else will be straight. So one of the things too that we were talking about, because as we were talking about how I felt on Saturday and like what painting Albert's Engine Bay gave me and just that sort of happiness, he was like, dude, so what's up? He brought up car shit. Because it's also been a while since he and I have done car shit. And there's events that have been going down, but I feel like it's also been kind of dead. More of the events I've been going to have been more like in the American classic lowrider scene that I've been talking to you guys about, which those have been great. And I love, again, perspective, having a different perspective, having a mind shift and seeing what's up on that side. So I think that's been why I'm more drawn to that right now rather than like the the import JDM Euro scene. But he's like, yo, so what's poppin'? And it was interesting because I told him, I said, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about applying for Breckie at the Barracks, which is going down this Saturday, June 3rd at the Barracks in LA. And for those of you guys who don't know what the Barracks is, it's basically, I'm not going to say it's like a skate park but it kind of is a skate park, but it's where like pros go and practice. And I'm not sure if it's open to the public. I could be wrong. Maybe it is. I don't fucking know. But from what I know and from what I've known, it's like a private spot that pros go to practice, whether it's like P-Rod, Eric Costin, you know, guys like that. Rob Dyrdek back in the day would go and kick it at the Barracks. So for those of you guys who watched like Fantasy Factory, the Barracks was featured on there multiple times, and just like the entire crew that fucks with all that. So they're doing something with Breckie Car Club, and I was like, fuck it. Maybe I'll just try for it. And he's like, dude, just fucking apply. What's up? What's the worst that can happen for you? The car doesn't get accepted. No big deal. You just keep living your life. I was like, yeah, you're right. And it's not that I was like down on myself about it, but I was thinking about it because the thing is, we had a situation, and originally Jay's oldest younger sister, she has her prom on Saturday. What we were trying to do is work it out so that, and this was before, you know, the Barracks event that we found out about it, but even before, like probably well over a month ago, we were trying to plan so I can take the kids to prom in the queue, because we thought that'd be really tight. So I was like, yeah, we're trying to work that out, get everything together. But turns out Saturday is going to be a little bit too much because he has a lot going on, and just to try and coordinate everything, it wasn't going to really work out too well. So that wasn't going to happen. And that's the reason why I brought up the Barracks to him. So he's like, fuck it, dude, run it. That shit will be tight. So, I mean, also, I don't know. I haven't received an email or DM or anything like that, so I'm not sure if the car will be there. But if I do end up going to Breckie at the Barracks, then that'll be a cool experience. Hopefully I get to meet people and kind of mingle and just put myself in a new environment, because I haven't, that I can think of, I haven't done anything. Oh, actually, I lie. I have been to their pit stop thing that they do. I think it's, but that's technically period correct. But I know Breckie was involved in the one that I went to one time. I went with my buddy Josh. So like that was pretty cool. But this will be like my first like involved event, I guess you can say, or at least like being involved with my car type of thing. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully the car gets accepted and I can go kick it with a different crowd and just kind of see what's up. Because this sounds like a cool event. The fact that it's like skating and cars and just the culture, like that specific culture, like being involved with cars is pretty tight, because it ranges from all kinds of different shit. Like there's dudes who have Porsches. There's dudes who have fucking OG Mercedes. There's guys like myself, you know, like VIP. There's like some drift guys that show up, and there's so many different things, because the skate scene, I feel like especially here in LA, the skate scene is so rich and diverse. You can't just pinhole it and be like, these fools like shit like this, because they don't. These fools actually like all this shit. They fuck with a massive spectrum, whether it's like with fashion, food, cars, all of it. Everything is super diverse. Everybody is super different. And I think that's what has me excited about this event. Even just kind of seeing it, for example, if the car doesn't get like selected to be in the show or in the show portion per se, I'm still excited to see the footage from it. I'm excited to see pictures. I'm excited to see everything. And then if I can still get down there, I'll do my best to get down there. I know pre-sales are already sold out, so I don't really know what the ticket situation is or how that's going to roll out. But either way, it looks like a cool melting pot type of event. And that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking at. I want to see more melting pot shit. I want to see more stuff going down. So we'll see what's popping. But I'm trying to, as I was talking with Jay yesterday, again, insert more of those things, more of that positivity, more of that good shit into my life, because it's what I need, especially right now. There's been so much, not darkness, but just kind of everything's been a little too much. And I need something that's myself. I need to make sure and grab and insert those things that are myself and that make me more me. I need to take more of that shit. So I'm trying to do that as much as possible. And this is one of those things. You know, this podcast is one of those things. Like it makes me happy. It makes me feel, you know what it is? Like it makes me feel like I'm doing something for people. And I read somewhere recently, and I also heard it too, like living your life in service of others brings you a different sort of happiness. And it does. It really does, because it's like we've talked about before. This podcast has sparked so many conversations in person, through DM, over the phone, through FaceTime, that I literally could not have started or wouldn't have started if it wasn't for this. So I'm very, very thankful. Very, very thankful for it. And again, this is why I need to do shit like this. Like even recently, what was really wild is my buddy Rob, his wife Chantal. Her and I are really close. Like we're hella cool. And I'm also really close with Rob. Like he's probably one of the most solid guys that I know. And he's the one actually who I talked about, I want to say last week. He's the one who hosts A State of Speed. And he has the gold Acura Legend. That's like all VIP'd out and like super badass. So that's his car, and Chantal's his wife. Chantal and I had a really wild conversation about a podcast that she was listening to. The first one that she heard was the We're Not Really Strangers. And I know you guys can kind of see, I think, what's this side? Oops, my bad. Like these little red boxes. That's all the We're Not Really Strangers collection. And she actually let me borrow her collection, minus the original game, because I have the original game. But we were talking about it because we're talking about being vulnerable and being open with people and just what it's done. And the conversation that we had was incredible. And we always have great conversation, always. It's always like super in depth. It's none of this like, oh, the weather is nice type of shit. Like, no, it's like, what makes you tick? Why did you say this? What made you say that? Like, how did you feel after you said it? Or like, oh, I don't like, again, it's going off of the game. It's like almost like we were playing the game in person. And something that we've been trying to do is at least once a week, pull a card from We're Not Really Strangers. And I play that with her. And we do these like really honest, really candid like moments. But it's great because it strengthens a friendship. It strengthens that connection with somebody. And that's what this is all about. So the more that I can feed that side of myself, to bring myself that sort of happiness. And it is very selfish. The more I even say it, I hear it. It's like, oh, myself. But it is for me. I have to put myself first. I got to make sure, something interesting my uncle said. He's like, you got to build your castle first. And that's what I'm doing. As I'm helping other people in some way, shape, or form, because I love to do that, I'm also helping myself. So it's like there's like these weird parallels that are running together. And I'm very thankful for that. Because again, as I'm getting to help other people and as I'm getting to build relationships with people, I'm also helping to build myself and move forward with various things in my life. Various things. But I hope that as the time goes on, I can continue to do that. Continue feeding my soul, continue feeding my heart, feeding myself in the most positive way. And I hope that for you guys out there too, listening and or watching, that it can feed you in some way too. And even if it's not with me, I hope that these types of things, that you can have these conversations with other people, even talk about shit that I talked about today. Like, oh, dude, you know what? I listened to this podcast and he was talking about this one thing. Like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about, going with the flow? How do you feel about filling your life with positive shit? How do you feel about half steppers? Just random shit. I hope this sparks that for you. I hope it gives you something. Because again, it's not just, as much as it is for me, it's also for you guys. It's also for you guys. So what I want to finish the podcast with is a piece of advice, as I have been trying to do every week. And so far, I think we have, right? Like I think we've had some sort of like either piece of wisdom, piece of advice, piece of something at the end, right? Let me know if I missed one. But today's, I think, is going to be something which you kind of heard me say earlier. But what I want to tell you guys is to pour love into everything that you do. Everything that you do. Whether it's something really simple, like you're making a sandwich, pour your heart into it, pour your love into it, because I guarantee you it's going to be the best sandwich you ever had. If you're going to be with somebody, pour everything that you have. All of your love, all of your energy, whether it's your friend, your partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, anything. pour everything you got into it, because it's going to give you so much more. A project that you're working on at home, anything that can feed your soul, pour your heart into it, because what it's going to give you, that sort of result, is phenomenal. It really is. And I tell you that from experience. I constantly experience it. And I'm so lucky, especially now, I feel like I'm like hyper aware to it. That when I have these moments, I just kind of sit in it. And it's almost like I sit outside of myself. Like even on Saturday, when I was watching the movie with Albert and Yessie, I had this weird moment where I felt outside of myself. And it was like I was watching the three of us in the living room. And I was like, this is so amazing. Just taking in this experience and how like we were laughing and having a great time. And it was myself realizing like, this is what I need again. And this is what I got to do. Continue to pour my heart, continue to put myself in situations full of love and happiness and great shit, because that's where it's at. But I'm getting these things back because of also what I'm putting into it. Because I could have showed up to Albert's completely different. Not put any love, not really any care into the day. And I'm pretty sure the day would have turned out different. But with the amount of love, good energy, things like that I put into that day, the way that I got there, the way everything I was received, all of it, the hugs, the good vibes, that's what helped carry that. And then that's all I received the entire day from them, from the both of them, was just nothing but love, good things. And that's what we got to do. And I'm not talking about necessarily wearing your heart on your sleeve. If you do, that's also a great thing too, because that shows your vulnerability. It shows what you're willing to do. And that's something on another subject I've been trying to do. Is I've always worn my heart on my sleeve, and I kind of took it away for a little bit, but I also want to get back to the point where I can do that, because that's more of the person that I am. I'm definitely more of a lover than a fighter. I don't mind fighting for love either. I don't give a fuck. I'll do what I have to do for love. But in this sort of situation, what I'm talking to you guys about, again, is to pour love into everything you do. Care about it. Really put yourself into it, because what it's going to give you, again, is going to be far better than anything you could have ever imagined. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for all the love, the support, everything. Every week that you guys come through and check this shit out, I feel like we're creating something really great. And hopefully over time, we can continue to grow it and continue to make it into something amazing. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And I can't wait to see you guys for the next one. So have a great week. Don't work too hard. Make good choices. And see y'all soon.